All right, good morning. It is January 6th, 2026. We're in Senate Judiciary, first day back for the session. And we have Ledge Counsel with us. We're just getting back into the swing of things, trying to make sure we have our feet underneath us as we get back into doing this job. And so technically we have a quorum, but we do have two members missing at the moment. We have Senator Shaw here, but just wanted to hear from Ledge Counsel, see if there's any questions that the committee might have, generally speaking, as we start the session. And also, we have a new member of Ledge Counsel here as well, Hillary. And yeah, so I'll just give the floor to you, and then after that, our committee will be discussing our priorities and
So good morning. For the record, Michelle Childs, Office of Legislative Counsel, and nice to see everyone back. As the chair mentioned, we've got the whole team here for Ledge Counsel that is usually here in the Judiciary team, myself, Eric Fitzpatrick back here, and then our newest member, Hillary Cheddar Ames, who has literally just started yesterday. Finished up her job in Washington, D.C. last week and hightailed it up to staying with her brother in Randolph. The family. She's coming back to Vermont after being gone for several years. And so she's going to be working with us. And yesterday was her first day. And so we're going to kind of slow roll her into all of these bills. She'll eventually be taking over the portfolio that Ben previously handled. So things around correction and pretrial services, juvenile law, children in need of care supervision, child abuse, animal cruelty, things like that. It's kind of, you have your list, I think, up on the web about who covers what, but you can always reach out to Eric or I if you're not sure if you can cover something. But you'll see a lot of Hillary in here, who's going to be kind of sitting in committee a lot to soak it all in. It's the best way to not do it. It's just getting some experience here in the building. So I think you should have, in terms of bills that are coming in, most bills have, I think most Senate bills have been okay for release, and you're going to be getting them over the next few days, but there is still time, as you probably know, to be getting co-sponsors and approving bills for introduction. So, you'll be getting bills probably for the next couple of weeks until that window closes. And then you've got all the ones that still on the wall from last year.
Indeed, it's a long list. Committee, do you have any general questions for Ledge Counsel as we're getting started here?
I just got a quick one, Michelle. In reference to co-sponsors, is that something that we have to pass the paper and we send an email to let Sylvia have money?
You can do either. So whatever works for you. So, you want to identify, who you've been working with on the draft. And so let's say if it's for me, you can just send me an email and let me know who your co-sponsors are on that. And then I can fill out the form and submit it for you. Or some people like to have that little sheet of paper to kind of walk around and show people with the legislation, and you can have them do that and initial that and then submit that to our office when you get to the topic.
What date?
I think it's the 15th, but I'll double check. 12th?
Of January?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Not sure.
No, yeah, I think you're right. 12th. It's in the Fridays.
That's a Monday.
So I'll look. I have it posted right next to my desk, but it's around there, but I'll double check.
Okay. Senator Ruth, we're just getting reacquainted with Ledge Counsel, meeting our new Ledge Counsel, Hillary, and Hillary?
Yeah.
Okay. So is there, I guess, general question, is there anything that we as individual legislators or as a committee can do to make your jobs easier this session, or easier and more efficient? Anything that's helpful?
I think it's very kind of you to ask. We have been a little strapped the last few months with having a vacancy, and like I had mentioned a little earlier, Eric and I have taken over the third portfolio and are going to continue to work on that. Hillary just started yesterday, but I think she's going to be a really fast learner, and she's going to be in here, and we'll gradually start to pass off bills there. But I would say for now, unless you've been directed to work directly with Hillary, please reach out to Eric or I about whatever the particular issues are, and we'll figure out who's going to staff it. But I think, something that we have been doing, which I think is really great, is the kind of bi-weekly meetings with the House to kind of look at the flow of bills, where things that you have in common, especially about who's going to take up which bill first, the House or the Senate, so that because generally it's just going to be Eric and I, that just coordination with the House so that we're not already, we're not like double booked in both places all the time, will help us out a lot.
Michelle, can I add something to that? And one thing I would add to what Michelle was saying, Eric Fitzpatrick, Legislative Council, just as Michelle noted, for the last couple of months, we've been tracking all the bills in Pat's portfolio, many of which we didn't have as much experience with recently as we had.
Because it used to be
bills in our-
friends before that.
Right.
So some of these issues Eric and I worked on 15 years ago, but we're having to get a little refresher on them.
Right.
So be kind to us when we appear before you want something that we haven't been regularly working on for more than a decade.
So if I'm going to walk through an animal cruelty bill, for example, and that you might hear me more frequently than usual say, "Good question, I'll get back to you," just to sort of forecast that for everybody. Thank you for your understanding. Appreciate it.
Maybe anything else for Ledge Council? General world of things. Okay. Great. Well, thank you. It's good to see you guys again.
Great to see you all.
Thanks.
Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. So we can shift gears to just a general committee discussion about our individual priorities, what we want to see done this session. And we'd like to start with Vice Chair of the committee, go around. I'm happy to go last. So Senator Norris, please take it over.
Well, it's going to be a very busy session. I'll let that come as a surprise to anybody. Personally speaking, I had put in 3 bills. One was released on the floor today, which is the home improvement land fraud bill. I guess there's some people who may or may not be interested in pursuing this, but we'll see where it goes. I reached out to the agencies and they're going to be giving testimony to that. Basically, what's happening is that the constituent gave a certain amount of money, some individual, he or she left the state and they couldn't go after them criminally because the way the statute does not read on the books now. And we had a couple of different decisions from judges throughout Vermont, which differed from one another. One of them bordered on the line of indentured servitude, so on and so forth. So we need to, in my personal opinion, we need to kind of look at this again, see if it goes back into the statutes as criminal versus civil, where victims of the crime, which is not listed as such, don't have to go to court and pay little representation, so on and so forth. And I believe there is a crime to that. The second one, which will probably land on a wall someplace and sit there for a while, was the removal of taxation of Social Security in the state of Vermont. I think that that's a good full disclosure on Social Security. Let me put that out there. But I was approached, and I think it beckons to, rather than to entice people in the state of Vermont by offering them a certain amount of money, that we simply stop taxing Social Security in one of 7 states, I believe that still does. To see us, the people that we have, our demographics are aging, shall we say, and there's a cost that comes with it, but I don't have the fiscal know has it yet. But I think if we put more money back into our economy as far as people moving into the state, if we're not taxing Social Security or whatever else. So that's my second one. I could go on forever about that one. The third one is I see we got the House bill today, the payment bill in reference to survivor benefits. So it's for law enforcement and emergency personnel or their families. In fact, I believe it's I didn't see the amount of money in the House bill, but I believe it's up to $80,000 to the treasurer's office. There's a fund that already exists there. And I was asked to put forth another bill, but they want to delve into retirement and so on and so forth, which in my personal opinion is supposed to be able to do that. So if we put something on the table for these survivors or the victims of that, yes, we don't use. We did have the Milton and St. Johnsbury incident took place last year, so it's probably something that they could have used. So those are the 2 things that are on 3 things that are on the front page of my book here. But I would like to see us, and I know it's not going to happen, I would like to see us move past a lot of the things that have been taken nationally here, but I really don't think they're going to have a voice in many of the things that are taking big place throughout the nation here. As much as we'd like to have a voice, I don't believe that we do. I'd like to see us work more for the best interests of Vermonters, what we do for them as far as affordability, public safety, housing, and so on and so forth. So how we get there, I don't have that answer. I wish I did. But those are things that are always on my mind. So it's a wrap for me.
Okay, well, just to pick up on where you stopped, Senator Norris, I'm very supportive of the chair has a bill in on masking, law enforcement officers and masking. There's a lot of things that are being propagated from DC that we can't affect, but I do believe that there's a narrow way in which we can get at the problem of masked officers who refuse to identify themselves, who also claim the right to grab people off the street, put them in a car, and then sometimes they disappear from sight and due process. Not saying all the time, but it's very worrisome to me. And I believe the chair can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's based on California's work in this area.
Yes, there's similarities. It's not a identical flow.
Right. So in other words, I think multiple states are in the process of, one of the hallmarks of this administration is that it works very, very quickly and sometimes chaotically. It's hard after the fact, figure out what we can do and what we can't do. But I think after a year, there's enough jurisprudence out there to show that we can require that law officers identify themselves and stop wearing masks as they perform arrests, unless there's some, it's undercover work or something like that. So that's one thing. The other thing is I have a bill in on a certain technical adjustment that can be made to a firearm to make it act like a machine gun. And so I believe it's in line with the intentions of bills we already passed. It's just one of those cases where technology has allowed a loophole. So that's going to be before us. I also believe that the House is coming forward with an omnibus bill with different pieces around firearm legislation. I'll be very interested in how that moves and what's in it. But those are my priorities for the month.
For me, it's towards the end of last session when we started hearing about just drug trafficking coming up through and how that kind of interplays with our raise the age law by sending up adults, young juveniles, whatever, 18, 19, 20 years old because they'll be tried differently than an adult would in another state. And my wife works in healthcare, and I guess there's a new strain of something out that doesn't respond to Narcan, and these things are ever changing. So if we can slow and hopefully stop the influx of those drugs coming into our state, that'd be a major help just by hearing how I don't even know how they're developed, but hearing what these things are is a little scary to me, especially with the issues that, we face in Burlington and things like that. Looking into more things like that with the trafficking sets, that's going to be up there for me. And just, bail revocation that we talked about last year and continuing on the path where we left off last year is huge for me. And we're just talking about judiciary, right? Not grand scheme of things.
Unless you want to give us a heads up.
No. I'm good. I'm good with that.
Great. Well, thank you all. So as was alluded to earlier, no surprise, I think, to folks that immigration is going to be personally one of my top priorities. There is the masking bill that we just discussed. We'll be hearing about that tomorrow. And there's also, Senator Bohofsky allowed me to say this, one of her bills is the sensitive places bill. A lot of these were introduced today, so I don't have the number, but this involves the enforcement of immigration enforcement in certain sensitive areas. So right now courthouses are covered in that enforcement can't happen there unless there's a warrant. And the hope is that that bill, or that the bill will expand where some of those protections are, such as churches, schools, I believe hospitals. But we'll hear more about it, I believe, tomorrow. And moving beyond that, there is a speedy trial bill that I believe will help address our backlog. Essentially, it creates a system in which the state will have to justify why there are some non-violent misdemeanors or felonies lingering beyond 2 years. So there are cases all across the state, non-violent misdemeanors that have been pending on the court calendar for 3, 4, sometimes 5 years. And my hope is that this bill, without getting into the weeds right now, will create a system that can only create greater accountability for the government when it comes to deciding what cases they want to keep lingering for a long time. Because these cases that are 4 or 5 years old, they cost time and money for both defenders and prosecutors and the judiciary. And if they need to be prosecuted, that's fine, but there needs to be some justification. And then, of course, the defense will have the opportunity to explain why such a case can be dismissed in the interest of justice. Beyond that, there are a laundry list of bills that I've introduced related to, I want to say, smaller fixes that I think would make sense. Smaller fixes that I learned about I've only been practicing for 2 years now, but over the last 2 years, there have been a lot of small things that just haven't made sense in the courtroom. That I don't want to jinx it, but I think that both sides and courts are generally scratching their head at some of the issues that I've seen and looking for smaller technical fixes. So, excuse me. So there'll be a list of those bills coming up as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for me at the moment. Obviously, we'll also have Prop 4, the Equal Rights Amendment. Can't forget about that. So that'll be coming up probably in the next 2 weeks or so. And I think everybody in this committee was here, except Senator Maddox, when we first went through that. So I don't think there won't really be anything new, but we'll still, because it's a constitutional amendment, obviously we're gonna go through the list of witnesses again and refresh our recollection about how it works, what it may or may not change in the future. And yeah, so that's more or less it. And are there any additional questions or thoughts?
No, I'd like to comment on Senator Bruce statements. It appears. I want to thank you for always bringing up areas of concern or topics and generate a very robust conversation. So thank you.
Yeah, I see that as
Anything else? Okay, great. Well, we'll be back here tomorrow at 9:30. So good time.